Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Who wants to share a success from yesterday?
I'll share.
All right. Thank you.
Finally got my friend, my client Margaret's house closed yesterday. That was quite an ordeal. Had to go through 2 or 3 deals, and then she never had her late husband's will probated, and that became a thing we had to deal with, and it was just one thing after another, but it all ended well, and she was a very happy lady yesterday.
Beautiful. While she's real excited, let me just say this. The vast majority of the time I give people advice, it's not because I don't think you've ever thought about it. It's just because I just want you to make sure you're thinking about it, right? So while this person is, super excited and super happy and, remembers all the things that you did for her and all the stress that you relieved of hers and these kind of things, get a testimonial, maybe even a video testimonial that shares about how, you went out of your way and to help her and to relieve her stress, and particularly when she was dealing with, some of the more emotional things that a seller, doesn't always have to deal with, and how you dealt with getting multiple contracts and these kind of things, because that's gold right there, right? If you could share, or if you could share her sharing what the experience was working together, then other people they appreciate that type of story. I think that's much more valuable than holding up a sign that says sold, right?
Yeah.
I've never been a huge fan of that kind of marketing image, right? I got paid, right? It's not about you, it's about that person, right?
Exactly.
Good job. All right, let's do 1 or 2 more and then we'll jump right in.
I'm potentially working with 2 more buyers.
All right, where did those people come from, Heather?
One is a referral from a previous client, and one is somebody that I met talking. I heard them talking a little bit about their service, and I asked what they do for a living, and they asked what I wanted to know, and I said because they sound very professional and comfortable talking about what they enjoy doing, and that's the kind of people I like to work with.
Oh,
and we ended up talking about multiple things, and it turned into they're looking for a home.
That is awesome. That's awesome. And just one more reminder, in the new year, I mentioned this a bunch last year, but I haven't said it in a while. Don't forget, the most important thing that needs to happen immediately after receiving a referral is for you to execute your referral thank you system. If you're saying to yourself, what is that? This is a system where you could do whatever you want. You could send cookies, you could write a handwritten note, you could make a personal phone call or a video text or whatever. But the moment you get a referral, you need to do something for the person that gave you the referral. Okay? Thank that person, send some cookies to them through Tiff's Treats or something like that, to their office. Somebody did that. Ebony did that actually. I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but Ebony did that for me a couple weeks ago, a month or so ago. Just expressing her gratitude, and it showed up and it came to my work, right? And so everyone was like, ooh, that's a lot of cookies for one person. You must have done something cool, right? And that starts the conversation of, yeah, that's from my real estate agent. Have you ever gotten cookies or a thank you like that from your real estate agent? I didn't think so. You need to speak to Ebony before you make any more real estate decisions. Make sense? So have a plan in place, have your supplies ready, have your account opened, and go ahead and just execute on your thank you plan right away. Make sense? That's what they can control. Don't thank them once you get paid. They can't control whether the person's a good lead or not, right? Or how long it takes to navigate the whole process. The only thing they can control is whether they choose to share it with you. Does that make sense? All right, I thought I heard one more person. Who was that?
It was chiming in with the O.
Okay.
So I wanted to say that I got a referral that will turn out to be a buy and sell. Can you hear me?
I can.
In. You can't? Okay, good.
Now I can.
Okay. It's going to be a buy and sell. I got the referral from my lender, and I sent a thank you card, but I need to send a gift, I guess. so I didn't think about that. I did do the handwritten thank you card. So.
Well, you need to do something. Like
Right.
you don't have to spend $50 on it, but just do some type of a token of appreciation, right? I mean, honestly, I think a card is probably fine, but you know what'll take it to the next level, maybe, right? Do one step beyond what they're expecting. Make sense?
Yes.
It's kind of like I was in a class this last week and on presenting, and they said the presenter should always be dressed kind of one level higher than what they expect their audience to be dressed. Make sense?
Yes.
It should be very clear who the presenter is if somebody were to walk in the room and look around. Does that make sense? What you laughing at, Michael?
I'm laughing because yesterday, when we went to the closing attorney's office, my client Margaret was dressed so well that they assumed she was the other agent. So we were sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. They're like, well, and I finally said to the lady behind the desk, is there something we can maybe start signing now? They're like, well, we're waiting for your client, right? She's right here. Said, oh my gosh, I thought you were another agent.
Wow. Okay, so that happened to me at a condo complex, like probably the first couple months of my real estate business, and my buyer showed up in a 3-piece suit, and I was just dressed, you know, business casual or whatever.
Right.
And they thought that he was the agent. So
yeah, they thought the two of us were both of the agents.
That's hilarious. And you know, let that be, you know, we should be the ones looking like we're the agent, right? Don't just show up in your workout clothes. All right, very cool. What did you guys, we're switching it up. I don't know if everyone saw the message this morning, but we're going to do the myths about real estate today, and we're going to do the Big Why exercise tomorrow, 8:30 as normal. So when you guys hear about the myths of real estate, what are some of the things that come to mind? I have a 2 pages, two things that I want to share with you, or actually 3 things that I want to share with you, but I'd like to get some interaction as well. What are some of the things that come to mind when you think of myths or misconceptions about the real estate industry or market or sales or being an agent or whatever? The other thing they taught me in the presenting class is that when you ask a question, you should just wait for the answer. So I'll wait.
Agents make a lot.
It's gonna get real awkward around here.
This is Lauren. I said that agents make a lot of money.
Okay. And what do you think the truth of that is?
I think they can make a lot of money if they have not so much the skill set, but if they work hard to make it. It's not like money comes easy. Like the deals are out there, they come right to me, I close them, no headaches.
Why do you think that people think that we're overpaid?
One thing I think is because we're in sales and they just figure all salespeople either take advantage of their clients or make a lot of money.
Wow. Okay. Now we're getting pretty deep. So society in general thinks that salespeople take advantage of their people, their clients, and that we make a lot of money, and kind of in parentheses around that is more than we should, perhaps. Is that right?
That's a good way of describing it, yes.
Y'all agree with that, or anyone want to piggyback on that idea? Anyone agree or not agree with that?
Good morning, Bill and team. This is Nadine Marsh.
Hey, Nadine. Nadine's the newest member of Keller Williams Roswell and the newest member of Productivity Coaching. So,
hi, Nadine.
Hey,
hello.
Good morning. Glad to be a part of the team and excited for the content. I mean, hey, I'm already impressed.
Oh, beautiful. It's probably Lorinda.
Yeah. But to piggyback on what Lorinda was saying, I do sales in my day job as well, too. And I hear that quite a bit, that salespeople make, quote unquote, too much money, and we don't necessarily deserve, in some cases, the money that we make. But to come back to what you asked specifically, and I'm glad you put it on the myth side of the house, because as salespeople, as professionals, we are bringing value to the table. And when it comes to real estate, you know, I always tell people that the realtors in Georgia could practice law in some states because of the content of the material that we have to study, the information that we have to have, and the value that we bring to our customers. And if you really check it out, in some cases, we might be underpaid and not so much overpaid, right? But the myth is, from my perspective and what I've heard people say, is you don't need a realtor because they don't bring any value. And the perceived value that we're supposed to bring is there is no visible work being done. All the work is behind the scenes. All the work is in the prep and getting you to close and talking people off the fence. You know, I mean, we wear probably 20 different hats in different industries, including the psychological side when you have to talk that panicking buyer off the proverbial edge, right?
Yes.
Everything that you said it's spot on, spot on. So thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about that for a minute. So one of the things that I want you to take away from today is, how are you going to take the myths that maybe society in general kind of thinks about our world and dispel those to your, you know, community, so to speak, to your audience, to your network, right? So for example, I've had a number of clients call me on the way from closing. I'm leaving closing on the way to the office to turn in my money, right? And they call me and say, how much of that do you get to keep? Or, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money you just made. How do I get involved, right? And what they're telling me is they don't think I earned it, okay? It's just that simple. They don't think I earned it. And the question is, how do I share with the world that I do, or that I did, right? So for example, what Nadine is referring to is a lot of the work is done in the prep. Have you shared with your community? When I say your community, I'm really thinking about like your audience, your database, your network, these kind of things, right? So have you shared the type of prep that goes into a buyer presentation or a listing presentation? Because they probably don't know about it, right? Have you shared a testimonial like we were talking about earlier, Michael, that says like how you navigated a tough part of the transaction and ended up creating a win for your client? If they don't know that stuff happens, then they don't equate it to deserving any money. Make sense? So I guess the takeaway for this one is, how do we share with our community that we are working super hard and that we do deserve the amount of money that we're being paid? Make sense? So what do you think is getting involved in the real estate industry right now that is not helping the issue that we're discussing in terms of overpayment?
Wholesale.
Yeah, that's one thing. Technology, iBuyers, these kind of things, right?
As my sister pointed out this morning, all the ads on television saying, oh, 2% commission.
Yeah, I saw a new billboard on the way to work today that said the new way, what did it say? It said like the new way of selling or something like that. And it was an open door, right? Want to sell your house?
On TV this morning.
The most important thing you got, the most valuable thing you probably own, just click here and we'll see it closing. And we'll carve about 20 to 25% off the sticker price, and that is your convenience fee.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? And what, if anything, the tech world has taught us in the last couple of years is people are willing to pay an insane amount of money for convenience. Right? So what are you doing to share with your community that working with you is convenient? Does that make sense? When you can relieve the person of their stress, when you can help make sure they know that you're going to get it all done, then they'll be willing to compensate you for that. Now, I'm going to make a little prediction here, which is I don't think the average commission will be anywhere near 3% in a few years. I think that's coming down for sure. I'm going to fight it every single day like I am, but I think ultimately if there's 500 tasks that you do in a real estate transaction and a computer or algorithm can do 250 of them, the fee for you is coming down, right? And the only way that you're going to fight it, or let me say it again, the best way that you're going to fight it is to build community, because you're not going to fight Zillow, okay? But you can prevent your person from going to Zillow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Anyone else want to comment on that one? And then we'll move on to a few others. Okay, here's one that I want. Yeah, Marquia, go ahead.
When I'm talking to a lot of people and they ask about the Zillow, and just from our experience going on the buyer side for someone that's wanting to purchase, we're seeing that a lot of Zillow homes, they're just buying it and not even putting paint on the wall. And the homes are starting to stay on the market a lot longer, along with the offer, Offer
pad?
Yeah, offer pad. Or open door actually. Open door, the homes are just starting to stay on the market and they're not taking good care of the homes. So another thing just to point out, when the seller is also looking to purchase as well too, just going into those homes and looking at the care that they're putting into them.
Yeah, that you know what? That's actually, you didn't, the myth there, I believe, is the real estate agent is on board to show all the good things about the house. I think the real estate agent is on board to show all the bad things about the house. I mean, I don't need to show a buyer where the kitchen is. They know where the kitchen is. I don't, and quite frankly, I don't need to sell them on the house, right? If I walk them in the door and they say, oh, living room's not the right shape. Okay, get back in the car. I'm not like, well, you could put your couch over here and you could, no, if you don't like the home, get back in the car. I don't want you to buy this thing either. You see what I'm saying?
So to piggyback off of that, like, and I noticed that too, like when I see something and it says open door or Zillow, 9 out of 10 times, I don't want to see it because I already know what the condition is. But from a seller's standpoint, being that they're still getting what it is that they want, your Zillows and your open doors, that's still a plus for them. But on a buyer standpoint, it isn't. So how do we even that playing field?
I would not make any, I'm not sure I'm following you completely, but let me see if I can summarize what you just said. So I would not make any generalizations around the quality or standards of the home based on who the agent is or who the owner was, or if it's involved with an iBuyer transaction. Because if I'm the kind of guy who takes real good care of his home, and then for whatever reason I sell to Zillow because their algorithm was off or because I was getting a divorce or something like that, and then a month later, Zillow's the owner and a buyer walks in and says, oh, it's a Zillow home, it must not be high quality. I think that's a bad assumption. So I would just walk in the door, and as a real estate professional, you point out the things that might cause them to, or to help them understand some of the maintenance or deferred maintenance issues or facts on the house that might be problematic, right? Hey, this is a really old HVAC system. Hey, that's synthetic stucco. Hey, that looks like water damage, right? Hey, that looks like termite damage. Hey, we got a lot of pooling in the backyard, like these kind of things. Factual, or hey, wow, look at that crack. We should have somebody come and look at this. Those kind of things. I wouldn't make any, I'd be really, really careful about making assumptions about the quality of the home based on whether it's an iBuyer is involved or not.
Well, it's not an assumption. It's more of what I'm seeing. So like, and this is not a conversation that I'm having with the client, but when I'm going through their portal search just to see what's on the market, and then I'm looking at the pictures, and you can start to spot on and pick things up. So after I look at the pictures, I'm looking at all the information, and then I go down to look at the information, and then I see where it says open door or Zillow, and it's just like, okay, here's another one, and it seems to be in different price points. So I will still show the home, but I'm saying that it's still a plus for the seller, because regardless, I feel like open door and Zillow, they buy homes from homeowners who just, they want to sell quickly, but the home may not be in the best condition. Not saying that that's always the case, but looking at it, that's what it seems. So
I would do
that's
your
still
best to eliminate that assumption. I think statistically speaking, you're probably, if I was to guess whether you're more right or more wrong, I'd probably say you're more right, but just be careful about making that assumption, right? And ultimately, if you just walk in, if you think it's in bad shape, then point out why you think it's in bad shape, right? You say, hey, we're going to need to redo this and redo that, and replace this, and you're going to address that, and we're going to have to re-roof the home, and they're like, whoa, I can't afford this place anymore. Okay, get back in the car. No big deal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I still tend to show it, but it's just like in my head, it's just like, here we go. But I still think that from a seller standpoint, Opendoor and Zillow are perfect because, they're purchasing the home for a higher price point and then they don't have to deal with it, which is great for them. But on the buyer standpoint, the buyers aren't winning, but the sellers are winning. The sellers got their check, they're gone.
Ultimately, I don't know if I agree with that completely. I think ultimately a seller, assuming that everyone is educated, okay, that's the big assumption. Assuming that everyone is educated, then a seller sells to whoever they sell to for whatever price they're willing to sell. And if they're not willing to sell with those terms, then they're not going to sell. And same thing for a buyer. The market puts it out there. Any buyer that's educated can come and take a look. And if the price is wrong, they're just not going to sell. And so I don't think it's a loss for a buyer. It's just not, look, if it's not a win for a buyer, they're not going to buy the home, right? No one's forcing them to buy the home. So if the seller is presenting a home on the market that's not a win for the buyer, then nothing's going to happen until they make it a win for the buyer, primarily through price reductions. Does it make sense? Now, you got to remember, a lot of this Zillow and iBuyer stuff, it's all VC backed. It's all somebody else's money, billions and billions and billions of money, right? They're just buying data, essentially. I will buy the house for 300. We'll sell it for 305. We'll sell it for 290. Who cares? We got all the data now.
Hey, Bill.
Right? Yeah.
I understand. I agree with both you and Ebony. I've seen that with Opendoor a lot. It's kind of, you don't want to put in assume so much, but you do see it with Opendoor. That when you go into it's almost like they just packed up and moved and they put a sign on the yard and that was it. I don't see it so much with Zillow, but you do see it with Opendoor.
So here's how I want to say one more thing and then we'll shift to a couple of other myths, okay? Which is, I learned, this is probably the best lesson I've ever learned in real estate. And it happened in a very strange way. I was showing homes to a new home in a new home community. And I wasn't familiar with the neighborhood. So I came a little early and got the rundown before my client met me. And I went into two different homes, right? One was very open and it was a really, in my opinion, a real desirable floor plan, lots of light, like big, yada, yada. And it was one price. Then I moved into this next unit. It was really boxy. I didn't really like the floor plan. It was smaller and it was more expensive. And I asked the on-site agent, I said, what? And I was, 24 or whatever, 25. And I asked the agent and I said, why would anyone buy that if they could buy that for less? And you know what she told me? She said, Bill, some people like salmon and some people don't like salmon.
Right, it's their preference.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you.
That's right. And therefore, when you walk into a home and you feel a certain way about it,
but you know what, on the other
keep that, be careful. Point, keep that to yourself a little bit. Let them tell you what they think.
With that being said, even you can't just nitpick like Zillow or Opendoor, because even with if the brokerage is Keller Williams, you look at this home and it's just like, what the, it's the same kind of thing. I don't think it really matters who's the brokerage.
Right. I think if anything, if I'm a buyer and my agent is, belly aching about everything, every time we walk in the door of another house, I'm like, I want to hang out with somebody that's positive.
No, but these are the conversations that I never say it. And like you said, everybody likes different things. I don't judge, because when you seen so many houses, whatever, like it doesn't even excite me, anymore, regardless of what house I walk into. So I know how to be quiet, but it's more of like, how do we even the playing field? But what I was saying with using that as the
reference. You just have to show the home to the buyer. And if you're not vocalizing it, your body language is probably saying something. So I'm just saying, just be careful. 100% of communication, right? 55% is tonality. 55% is body language. 38% is tonality. 7% is words. Okay. So 93% of the way you're going to communicate something is not even using your mouth. Okay. So you are giving some ideas to the world based on how you present yourself. All right, let's move on. All right, we got it. We got a lot of audience engagement today. I love it. All right, I want to show you this idea here. Can you guys see this? This is called the dilemma of desire and success. Okay, it says we have a very high desire to know everything. We have a very high desire to do everything. And we have a very high desire to have everything. Yes, would you guys agree with that? Problem is we don't have enough time for all that, right? So you have to make choices and priorities, okay? So this isn't really a myth, but it's come up like 3 times yesterday in coaching calls. And I just wanted to point this out to you guys. There's going to have to be something that you choose not to know, right? Because you're focused on knowing more about something else. You see what I'm saying? The thing that's going to drive you and your family and your business forward. There's going to be some things that you're not able to do because you're focused on something that's more important. And there's going to be stuff that you desire to have that you can't, that you're choosing to spend your money on something different. Does that make sense? All right, just wanted to get that out there. Now, I shared a couple of slides on the chat this morning, and these are a couple myths that I'd like to review with you. Let's start with the first one that I posted, where it has a triangle and prospecting on the bottom and marketing on the top. So what do you think what does that mean to you? We have a prospecting-based business and a marketing-enhanced business. So the vast majority of the time that I speak to people, and by the way, this was reversed in the original Millionaire Real Estate Agent, but that was 20 years ago, okay? So back then they said marketing enhanced and prospecting, marketing based and prospecting enhanced. Now they say it's the opposite. So many times when somebody doesn't have enough prospects, right? I say, well, what are we going to do? And they say, oh, I just need to do some marketing. I believe that's the wrong approach. You need to do some prospecting. Okay. So who wants to share with me the difference? The answer is on the chat.
One is spending money and one isn't.
Yes. So, and just for clarity's sake, marketing is spending money and prospecting is
making a call,
or spending a whole lot less, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Marketing is also passive, right? I put a marketing message out there and I have no way of knowing whether it's working or not, other than if I get any calls. And I get no chance to if the marketing message is not perfectly in alignment with the audience, then I don't even get a chance to massage it. It's just thrown away or whatever, right? In marketing, you're looking for long-term results, brand building, these kind of things through mailers and that. Prospecting, you get the news immediately. Hey, you want to meet with me about your FSBO or no? Hey, you want to meet with me about your expired listing? We're going to get an answer right now. You see what I'm saying? So when you say, I'm going to do some marketing, what you're basically saying is, I'm choosing a long-term solution, which is going to require a lot of consistency, which if you don't get any closings, you may not even be around for that, right? I'm going to choose the most expensive way to find business, and I'm going to choose the one that I have the least amount of control over. That sounds like a myth to me. Y'all agree? Okay, so what I want to encourage you to do is have a prospecting-based business. Okay, there is one way to solve every problem in real estate. Every problem in real estate. More leads. That's it. More leads. Gary Keller says the reason why an agent will hang on to a poor client, not financially poor, just lousy, right? Just uncooperative, disrespectful, unqualified, bigot, you know, you name, always late, doesn't cooperate, you know, they'll hang on to a weak client way out of their market area because they have a lack of prospects. Do you know why they have a lack of prospects?
A lack of prospecting.
That's exactly right, Michael. You said it better than I could have. A lack of prospecting, right? And I know that people's vision of like a real estate business is not putting on a headset and having a three-way dialer and just hammering out, you know, 1,000 calls. But if you have more prospects, you don't have to put up with people that don't fit your ideal mold. Does that make sense? And just so we know, I'm not talking about like anything controversial here, right? But like, I don't want to do business in McDonough, okay? I've never been to McDonough one single time in my entire life, and I'm not planning on going, right? And I sure am not going to look a buyer or seller in the face and pretend like I'm the best option to represent them in their most expensive investment or most valuable investment, okay? Just so I can get a commission check. I'm not going to do it. Now, 15 years ago when I was broke, I might have, but I'm not going to do it now. I'm also not going to work with jerks. You know why I don't need to work with jerks? It's because I've got enough nice people. Does that make sense? So if you're working with somebody who's disrespectful of your time or your expertise or the people that you've connected them with, you're only tolerating that because you don't have enough people. Y'all follow that? So you have a lead problem. So that is fixed with prospecting. Now, marketing is enhanced, right? You have a brand, you're communicating your successes, you have a systematic communication and all these things, right? But the heart of the matter is, how many people am I speaking to a day that need their questions answered, right? If you go through a whole day, I mean, with all due respect, guys, ain't nobody making their goals talking to 3 people a day or 10 people a week or something like that. Okay. You're in sales. You're going to have to talk to more people than that. Make sense? It's not about you. If you believe in yourself and you're good and you're honest and trustworthy and ethical, there's a lot of people that need you out there right now. Don't be afraid to make the call. They need you. If you don't call them, they're going to make a crappy real estate decision. Make sense? Okay, let's move on to any thoughts, comments on that? By the way, marketing is easier. It's funner sometimes. Is that a word? More fun? It's a little flashier, right? Social media, it's fun, makes me feel good. But if you're not getting any engagement, no one's calling you and saying, hey, I want to buy a home, then you're just entertaining yourself. All right, give me some feedback on that one. Did that one hurt a little bit? All right, I lost all the engagement.
I'm not even going to soften that one.
Okay, soften that one for me, please.
No, it is what it is. I mean, I will say that you do have to give things time. You can't just post on social media one week and then when there's no response, say, oh, well, that doesn't work. But if you've been doing it consistently with a system in place as a strategy for lead gen, and it's 6 months out and you haven't gotten a transaction or even a nibble from it, then time to change up what you're posting, time to change up what your lead generation is.
Well, I would say that social media is kind of this weird blend between the two. I would call it more marketing, honestly. And so that begs the question is, what is it supplementing, right? Or what is it enhancing? So don't just rely on social media for the leads to flow in. You're going to have to do some active work to get that going. Make sense? By the way, if you only rely on marketing, or if you don't even do either one, then you just get whatever you get, right? Meaning there's no way your goals are going to get hit, right? If you have 3 transactions one year, it's because 3 of your friends raised their hand and called you. If you have 1 the next year, it's because only 1 did. If you have 4 the next year, it's because only 4 did. You're completely allowing the world to dictate your financial well-being and the ability for you to and your family to hit your financial goals. If you want to take back control of that, you're going to have to do some prospecting. Does that make sense? All right, beautiful. Let's go to another one. This is some myths about models. Okay, this is straight from the One Thing. I do not need models. That's the myth. Anyone want to read the truth? All right, I'll read this one. I sent it to you on the WhatsApp, so I'm going to ask for a reader next time. Yes, you do need models. In fact, you already have them. They're how you're getting things done. When your results matter, you don't want models that limit you. It's kind of like scripts in a way, right? You can tell me all you want that you don't use scripts or you don't like scripts, but you have scripts, right? If a buyer says, hey, I want to buy, you say probably the same thing in response to every time that happens. The question is, are you saying the script that is written by psychologists that is proven to work over years and years and years, or are you saying the same thing that you made up and winged or currently winging? Does it make sense? You have a script. The question is it a good one? Is it currently converting at the ratio that it ought to be, right? Models limit my freedom. No, they do not. Models set you free because they can help you make better decisions more quickly and have a better result. Better life as a result. Sounds kind of appealing, right? Models are just opinions. You know, all of Gary Keller and KW's stuff is models and systems, right? Proven models and systems. All models are initially based on either opinion or fact. However, once implemented and shown to deliver a predictable outcome, a model is now proven and it is no longer an opinion, right? Do you think the formula for the economic model is an opinion? I think on day one it was. And then with enough tracking and research and confirmation, it's now become a non-opinionated. It is fact, right? Okay, the model won't work for me. This is a tough one. Listen closely. A model will work for you if you follow it because it has predictable results. The questions are these the results you want? And is this a model that you will follow? And if you're saying it won't work for you, you're actually saying that you won't work for the model. Let's take open houses, for example. Okay. You could do an open house by claiming it on Saturday because you kind of just got around to thinking about it. And you can go put out one sign and a couple of balloons and you could show up at the door and say 2 people walk in, you're like, open houses don't work for me. Wait a second. Did you follow the open house 7th level system where you picked the open house a week before, you knocked doors, you posted ads, you made phone calls to the neighborhood, you invited the neighbors for an early version, you had 50 signs out there like Drew has with the riders and the flags and all that kind of stuff? Because if so, you'll have more than 3 people. So did the model work for you, or did you not work for the model?
It didn't work for the model in
That's
that
right.
scenario.
Has anyone done kind of a, pardon my language, kind of half-ass open house before?
Yes.
And has anyone taken it to the next level and gotten better results?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Did y'all watch the game yesterday? I forget the guy's name. At the very end, they're interviewing him. He was the defensive player of the game from Georgia. Sign or something?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
What am I talking about?
He just started balling. You talking about the young guy from Georgia who
No,
just started crying?
not the quarterback, the defensive player of the game. They said something like, yeah. They said something like, you know, how did you think about the guy that got the interception or something, right? And he said, we practiced that 100 times. I knew exactly what was going to happen. We've prepared for that over and over and over and over. So that's no surprise to me. I knew that was going to happen. You see what I'm saying?
That's awesome.
There's a leadership and sales and business lesson in all things. That's what I'm going to tell my wife why I went to sleep at 1 o'clock last night, right? I was looking for that leadership lesson. I promise you, right?
Right.
Did y'all catch that though? When you're prepared and you're practiced, nothing comes as a surprise. It's like, oh my gosh, they asked me about Open Door. Of course they're going to ask you about Open Door. They got 50,000 billboards around town. You better figure out how you're going to respond to that. Don't be stunned. Prepare. Okay. Okay. Last one. I do not need to change. Okay. Well, what I'm doing getting me the results I want? If it's not, you probably do need to change, right? As you grow, you'll want better and better models. And if it matters, you're fooling yourself if you think that good enough is good enough. If you're leading a vertical life in the areas that matter, you'll want the best models. Kind of reminds me, Candace, I think you and I took this class together where Gene Rivers talked about his mother before she passed away. Do you remember that?
Vaguely. Okay,
so Gene Rivers, probably my favorite KW instructor, fantastic guy. His mother passed away a few years ago, and prior to her passing, she was in like 24-hour care, right? Somebody was there to make sure she took her medicine and make sure she went to the bathroom and ate and all that. 24-hour care. You guys know how expensive 24-hour care is? It's about 200 grand a year. Okay. Now I'm not suggesting that you need to or you should support your aging relatives that way. But what if you choose to? Right? You think it's going to be more expensive in 20 years or less expensive in 20 years, just out of curiosity? Yeah, it's probably going to be 5 times that, right? So I guess my point there is like, money isn't everything, but it certainly helps a bunch of stuff, right? You get to make decisions that are meaningful to you, right? Like I'm trying to help my kids understand that, like, I'm trying to think of the exact scenario, but it was like they said something like, we want to do this or don't want to do this or something, and my lesson was, don't make a decision on whether it's like $6 or $10. Make a decision on whether you want it or you don't want it, right? And whether there's a better alternative, right? I don't want my kids to grow up thinking about scarcity all the time. Make sense? Okay. Last little thing and then we'll end, okay? 6 productivity myths. Choose greatness instead. This is also from the One Thing, okay? There is a myth that everything matters equally. Do you agree with that? Y'all familiar with the 80-20 rule? 20% of your people will yield 80% of your income or the results. Not every client matters the same. They do not. Okay. Some of them deserve extra attention, and some of them, quite frankly, do not deserve extra attention. Make sense? Multitasking. Focus on one thing, guys. Multitasking does not work. I know you think it might work, although you've been at KW long enough to know it doesn't work, right? Big, big myth. A disciplined life. Habits lead to success. Have you guys heard the quote that you do not determine your future. You determine your habits, and your habits determine your future. What does that mean to you?
Well, very easily, if my habit is to brush and floss my teeth before I go to bed and when I get up in the morning, I'm pretty likely to have all my teeth, barring any sort of disease, when I'm much, much older. Whereas if I choose not to do that, I'm probably looking at a future of false teeth or implants.
Okay, that's a good example. It's a good example. How about something a little bit more short term?
If I keep procrastinating, I'll keep being unprepared when these prospects or leads do start coming to me. I'll panic because I won't know the things that I feel like I should know as the professional. So.
Oh, wow. That's thank you for sharing that. That's a really good one. Okay, so let me give you an additional thought on that. You know, sometimes they say that you might have to ask for the business like at least 5, 6, 7 times, right? If you ask for an appointment and they kind of pause, they're like, I'm busy for the next couple of weeks, blah, blah, or like, you know, blah. If they're like stalling, if I'm ready, I'm going to push them, right? Well, how about I swing by here, you know, right after church, it won't bother you, whatever, right? I'll push. But if you're not prepared, then you're like, okay, I'll call you in 2 weeks. Right? So you're not pushing, you're not showing your assertiveness, because psychologically, and most times or subconsciously, you're not prepared, and therefore you're not going to push for the appointment. Does that make sense? Okay, so give yourself a deadline. Hey, I'm going to print out all the questions I would ask a buyer by the end of the hour. And I'm going to read it 3 times every morning. And I will be prepared by a certain day. Make sense? I appreciate you sharing that, Teria. Thank you. Anyone else want to share on that one? Okay. Willpower is always on will call. Manage your time and energy. For all of you guys, with all due respect, that think you're going to lead generate from 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't. You're too tired. Too many things are getting in the way. You're not setting yourself up for success. That's why they suggest doing it early in the morning, so you can win the morning, win the day, and then you can have a little freedom at the end of the day because you've earned it. Okay? But with all due respect, if you think you're going to go to the gym at 10 o'clock in the morning and lead generate at 4, I don't think that's going to happen. So I challenge you. Run your play, run your model, and see if you're okay with the results. And if you're not, you should run a different model, perhaps one that is proven. Okay? Candace, does that need a little softening? Nope. Okay. Last one. Big is bad. You guys, a lot of people are afraid of success because they have hangups around money. They have hangups around time. They don't want to lose their friends and all these kind of things. Big is it's like money is bad if you do bad things with it, and money is great if you do great things with it. Right? So I think this is really just a matter of really getting clarity on what do you want out of this business? What do you want your life to look like? Because you can definitely get it. Absolutely. You want to make 100 grand, 300 grand, 600 grand, 50 grand, whatever. There's a model and a plan and a strategy for that. But don't be afraid of having more and creating more opportunities. If you get big and you have a lot of leads, you get to create a job for somebody. That's awesome, right? And if the two of you together go create more business, you can create another job for somebody. You could have an impact on their family for generations because of what you've created for them. Don't steal somebody else's job, y'all. Okay, give me an aha from today and we'll call it a day. What have you learned?
I'll go. There's so much that you have unpacked, and I feel like based upon, of course, the list is not all inclusive, right? We still have some others that we didn't talk about, but overall, it's just putting the real estate business right into the sales piece, because they do go hand in hand. If you don't have anything coming down the pipeline and you're not, as you say, prospecting, and you're not trying to find, the business to carry us through based upon the goals, organization is the key, bottom line. And we've got to know where the goal is so that we can consistently move towards that. It comes with preparation and organization. And I'll be the first to say that I need help in exactly those areas. So thank you. The content was great. Appreciate it.
Nadine, I already know I'm going to like you. I appreciate all your what's the word I'm looking for? Contributions today. Thank you. Okay, let's do one more aha and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, so I do want to piggyback on Nadine's comment. It all comes back to mindset and having the belief in yourself and the systems that are put before you to use.
That's right. Kind of reminds me of the Gary Keller's definition of leadership. You know what he says leadership is? Leadership is helping people think the way they need to think so that they can get whatever they want whenever they want it. Make sense? That's really what we do. It's really hard to quantify that sometimes, but I would venture to say, I would like to say that each and every one of you thinks a little differently today about business, life, real estate, etc., than they did before they got into this program. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Then I've done my job. All right, beautiful guys. Team meeting is at 11 o'clock today. Don't forget, we have that Southeast Region Educational Services class on Wednesday. That's from 1 to 4. That's got a special Zoom link that is registration and all that stuff is in the daily newsletter. Thank you very, very much for your contributions today. Have a great day.